Pop filters really retain hair, huh? Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are not dilly-dallying, alright? I haven't even posted the last video I made, but you know what? I've been disappointing myself in terms of my upload schedule. It's been like once a month, and I hate that. So I'm gonna try to get things more often for you. I said I'd do that last video, but apparently I lied, so now I'm gonna do it this video. This is the one. No more dilly-dallying, okay? We're actually getting on shit and being efficient, even though we have a full-time job, okay? It's not the easiest thing in the world, but we do it. Today, if you can't already tell from behind me, we are going to be talking about Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, which is one of my favorite shows. I just talked about it in the last video as a show that gets better as it goes on, and I'd like to specifically talk about my favorite part of this show, which is Part 5. I'm talking about the anime, by the way. I am anime only. Part 5 was an incredible part of JoJo, and is still my favorite even after completing Part 6, although I gotta say, Part 6 came awfully close. It's pretty much a matter of preference rather than a matter of quality. But I really enjoyed Part 5 specifically. I think it really left the longest lasting impression on me and had some of my favorite characters from the whole series. And then we've got, of course, Bruno. Butcherot Mommy. Butcher Mommy. He's got a great quote here. I'm not gonna translate it for you. You can figure that out on your own. You know, open a new tab, go to Google Translate, have a great time. I taught you something today. Can't say I never taught you anything important. Part 5 is just my favorite, mostly because of preference for how and where the story takes place. The first reason why Part 5 is the best is because there's a protagonist twist. You know, we've always had these protagonists who are... I mean, last in Part 4, we kind of had a little bit of a twist where it was an affair, you know, it wasn't a direct child. But this one was interesting because it was actually one of Dio's children, and we know he fucked hard, so there were children everywhere, so this was bound to happen one of these days. But it's interesting that the protagonist gets kind of both Dio's and Jonathan's, like, personalities, because it is Jonathan's body, where he, of course, has the birthmark. He's a little bit of a schemer, and I would say he's not naturally a good person. He steals a lot of vehicles over the course of Part 5, little old Giorno, but he has a great and righteous heart, which is, you know, I hate saying the word righteous, but, I mean, this is, like, the most righteous show. But I love Giorno, and while he doesn't have the most interesting personality, he's pretty straightforward. I do think his backstory is fascinating and was a great twist for the characters that we were going to follow in Part 5. And the next reason why Part 5 is the best is because of its setting. Not only, I mean, we always travel around in JoJo, you know, Part 1 was in England, Part 2 was in New York, Part 3 was in Japan, and then Egypt. They went everywhere. But Part 5's being set in Italy is such an interesting setting because, first of all, we all know that Araki is basically obsessed with Italy. I mean, all of this, like, fashion that he puts in the show is pretty much inspired by a lot of Italian fashion artists. So, you know, he admires the culture, so it was great to finally set something that is actually in Italy, and actually kind of goes all over the place in Italy. It starts in Naples, and then moves to Venice. They go to Rome, of course. I forget where else they go exactly, but they go all over the place. It's nice to see, and it's a beautiful setting, of course, because I'm a basic Italian bitch, so every 5 seconds I have to mention that I am Italian. I'm Italian, by the way, in case you didn't know that. But it's a really interesting setting and a change up from what we've seen previously. Honestly, every season is a change up from what we've seen previously because they're never set in the same place. But it was nice to be in such a different place after being after being set in the same place for so long in Part 4. It was great to move around in a completely different country. But another thing about the setting that is fantastic is it's set in the world of gangsters, which is something I never really would have predicted this show would do. It's not a direction I foresaw Araki ever taking, but it's definitely one that is welcome for me, let me tell you. I mean, this one has some of the highest consistent tension because of the fact that it is set within a gang. I mean, it right off the bat is starting with murder and cover-ups and crime and bribery, all this different stuff that kind of shows you the underbelly of this beautiful Italian surface, which is a really interesting juxtaposition. So I really enjoyed that, and it really makes for a well-plotted season, for sure. One thing that in the beginning of the part that it does really well is, first of all, it starts off with some familiar characters. We see Koichi, we see Jotaro, just to make sure, like, hey, this is how this is connected, because it's kind of like the farthest away they've ever gone from, like, the main line. So they have to find a way to make it tie in, or make you at least feel like it's tied in, because they can say it's tied in all you want, but, you know, there's a kind of feeling that comes with a new Jojo and all that stuff that they want to evoke, and that they definitely did by having all those old characters come and help out. But the opening arc also really serves super well to introduce all the new characters. It takes actually a couple episodes to meet the actual gang, but the first 3 do an excellent job just setting up Giorno and Bucciarati, and setting up the gang as kind of an organization in general. And then further on in the opening arc, you have fights that highlight each of the gang members' personality. I really loved how they spent one fight on each person pretty much to show their strengths and weaknesses, give or take. You know, Fugo and Abakio, they kind of showed off in the same fight. But either way, everybody gets their moment to shine. And everybody gets to show why they are actually in this gang. So it's good to prove why all these members are here and that they're not just random fuckheads. It's also interesting to have this power system kind of brewing within the gang. Of course, someone's power is just gun stuff, but they actually make it be more interesting than just like the Emperor, right, whole horses stand. They actually kind of play with it more. Which brings me to my next point about Part 5. The fights are so complicated. I mean, think about the one I always go to, especially for the first half of the season, is the fucking man in the mirror fight. What is going on? It's so confusing. Because we already had a mirror stand, right? It was pretty simple. This time, it's not. You have a world existing only within the mirror that this guy can completely control. The stand's virus, right, that attacks indiscriminately. Them trying to just get this fucking key. All they're trying to do is get a key, by the way, this whole time. It's just such a complex fight with so many layers, and the way they use their powers are so interesting too. It's fascinating to watch the fights because you have like arts and crafts versus Sex Pistols, right? Mista. This one guy just has a stand that just lets him fix things in place, and he's able to make such great use of it somehow. And then Mista's is just like, I can redirect bullets around for funsies, and he somehow makes some insanely high IQ moves. Like, it's such a simple stand power, but they have to use it in insane ways because of who they're facing. And that also brings me to my next point. The villains are excellently set up. Of course, we have the main overwhelming or looming villain that kind of doesn't really present itself until the latter half of the season, but we also have this other gang of villains that is chasing us, trying to intercept what we're trying to do for the boss. And both of these villains are set up really well. The group is super, I don't know about justified, but you can totally understand where you're coming from when you see what actually happened to them. Forget the group's actual name, but they've got some amazing players on there, and that's why the first half of the season is so fun and lively. And then, like, you know, we actually end up going against the boss at the end too, so it's like, wait, did we ever have to fight these guys? Like, we should have just been kind of disobeying him the whole time, or else I guess we never would have found Trish, you know? They're almost like a red herring, except they are serious threats for the boss that becomes the real villain later. And since he is by himself after we were just fighting a whole team of people, he seems insanely powerful. And he is. They killed the gays. They killed their gays. How dare they? When the plot twist occurs that the boss is actually working against us and trying to get rid of his own daughter, it's pretty hard to see it coming, mostly because we spend about 20 episodes just doing shit for this guy. For him to essentially go, not go behind our back. I mean, he just kind of never had told us what he was going to do. And we never even saw him, so, you know. But either way, there's this great plot twist, and it switches around the kind of direction of the season in such a major way. Like, Bucciarati was headed to be a capo, to be such a head in Passione, and now they're traitors, and they're probably dead, and Fugo isn't going with them. It's just such a heartbreaking turn, and it ends up, of course, taking a lot of the characters' lives. The best part is they have an episode where they all make an individual decision to go, even though they know it will probably mean their deaths. It's really heartful, and it allows you to connect to their deaths. Like, obviously they're going to be sad, but I mean, it gives you some comfort. Gives you something, just a little, just a morsel. But the great thing about this second part is that after this twist, it's kind of just them running for them lives. It's so desperate, and it climaxes in this insane way at the Coliseum, where once again you meet a legacy character. So again, they're doing that, they're bringing that back and making sure we're getting that nostalgia, we're getting that Jojo feeling. The climax is like 6 episodes long, from the episode His Name is Diavolo basically to the last episode, essentially, is all the same fight. It's just so desperate and confusing. I love how they changed it up. You know, I'm not usually a fan of the body swap, and I wasn't at first, but it ended up being a really smart plot device. First of all, the stakes got like, Rome is going to collapse again, and like everyone is being affected by it. Everyone could die because of this timer, and although some of the comedic moments of the body swap are a little cheap, and it's like, oh my god, body swap comedy moments, because you care about the characters so much, it does kind of work, and it is fascinating to see who gets switched with who. And it's confusing to watch, but it also makes you pay really close attention. A lot of people get very confused on the climax of part 5, specifically with the light behind your head thing. Try predicting anything that happens in the climax of part 5. In those 5 episodes, try predicting one thing before you watch it. You won't be able to. It's insane, but it climaxes in such a perfect way, with every thread kind of tying together, and I like that they inadvertently avenge those opening villains in that final fight by taking out the boss. And the boss's fate is, woof, so dark. Delicious. We love that, because Diavolo was one of the worst villains. Technically, this video I'm making right now is canon in Jojo. There is an equal chance of it happening and not happening, that Diavolo will appear in this room and I will get to, I don't know, kill him with the spoon that's nearby. It's possible. I'm a Jojo character. But either way, it's a great fate, and it's such an interesting way to upgrade Giorno's power. I mean, what they do at the end is they just have people tripping over each other to get more powerful. And at the end, Giorno's like, I am God, and then it's over. So I loved the level up, and I loved, of course, the OP invasion and Giorno invading his own OP. I thought that was boss as fuck. I wish Jolene did that. And then the ending is bittersweet. You know, we lose a lot of characters, and in heartbreaking ways, but we get beautiful send-offs for all of them. I'd say maybe least so for Narancia, but definitely a Bacchio send-off. I didn't even really like his character that much when I first watched it, but then I cried. We lose Bucciamami. It's really unfortunate, but it like has to happen for Giorno to ascend. It's interesting how religious this season seems, and how angelic, especially with that painting of Bucciarati in the sky, everything gets. It's really beautiful, and although it's terribly sad, we do get a technically happy ending, and my favorite character did survive, so ha! You know, he almost died like 80 times. You know, having Mista be your favorite character in part 5 is literal pain, because every fight he's in, he almost dies. It is unbearable. I thought the ending was interesting with that fight with Rolling Stones, and how it perceived fate, and how Bucciarati was fated to die, and he was gonna die no matter what, but Giorno kind of gave him a life extension because he's just that OP. It's a really interesting way to convey a story, especially about gangsters. You know, whoever thought that it would be this emotional? It was a great ride from start to finish, and I think every part of it was so perfectly crafted. Everything gets so wild near the end. It becomes a absolute clusterfuck in the best way possible, which is, you know, we love clusterfucks here at PosiTVty. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, support us further at patreon.com/TV_wins. There you can get extra content, full reactions, you get videos early, and you can tell us exactly what to do. If you are a patron and you ask us to do something, we will do it. We will. We have to. It's law there. So also comment below what you would like to see next. I hope to be getting back to everything great about videos soon. I only made one on this channel, but I really like the format I kind of perfected back on TV Wins, so I'm going to bring that back soon. But I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Tell me what your favorite JoJo part is in the comments below, and I'd love to have and we'd love to have a discussion with you. So I will see you guys next time, and goodbye.